Hey guys, remember to like the video and hit subscribe.
Talk to a Girl's back with a released podcast that was immediately disavowed by nearly everyone in it who said, oh, we think there might have been insider trading involved.
The podcast was not supposed to go live. They f***ed it up every step of the way. They leaked the podcast, and then they f***ing posted it when it was supposed to be canceled. They f***ed it up twice, and the third was the launch itself.
Accusations flying. The episode got deleted, but it's still out there in the ether now with everyone nitpicking it apart. It's kind of a complete disaster for the Hawk Tua team, and I found even more kind of wrong with it. I want to go through it because, yes, we do get mentioned in it, sort of as the boogeyman of crypto. We're going to get you. If you rug a coin, you know, we might come after you.
CoffeeZilla got on there. That scary guy, let me tell you. Don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
Whoa. Don't ever want to have a conversation with me. Guys, I'm not intimidating. I don't know what's the problem here. I'm Joe Rogan inches tall, guys. It's not a striking figure here you're going to be scared of. If you meet me in person, you're not going to be like, you know. Relax. It's fine. Just get on the call. Let's have a conversation. I don't understand. And I also thought this was weird because Haliey Welch's lawyer invited me on the show. In fact, like, really, really wanted me on their show and kept telling me how much Haliey Welch liked me. Hence the t-shirt, you know. I used to like CoffeeZilla until he wouldn't come on my podcast. Then he is, you know, Voldemort, and we can't mention him. He's scary. Watch out. Don't talk about CoffeeZilla. He's intimidating. Here's the message I got from her lawyer. Haliey would like to have you on as a guest on her podcast. You'd be the first guest since the failed crypto token launch and would get significant amount of views, would be very friendly. This guy must not know me. She really likes you. Wow. I thought she didn't want to have a conversation with me. What gives? What happened in only a few weeks? You know, I turned into...
She really likes you and would like to have a long-form conversation about the ins and outs of crypto. Sounds like they don't want to talk about the particulars at all. And then they just want him onto a reputation rehab. Jesus, yikes.
You know, the most scary man in the world. Now, I denied it. I said, look, I'm not a fan.
Oh, he says it. I'm not a fan of what she
did with Hawk. I have so many questions. You know, I need details. And then this guy says, I understand your position. I think the more details come to light, you'll understand she was a victim in this. She does care about her fans and others that have lost money tremendously and is cooperating with all authorities as well as Berwick Law Group. This has all been very traumatic for her. And basically come on the show, please. Very traumatic.
I, and her manager would be happy to answer your questions and provide you with all that we know about the situation in advance of your appearance on the podcast for your knowledge and your own peace. We don't have all the answers, unfortunately, but we know a lot more now than we did last time I communicated with you. So they didn't want to talk at all, I think, about this on the show.
For her. And
please let me know ASAP on this. You're the podcast's top priority in the first episode. I can send you a draft run of show from the production team if that would help you decide whether to come on or not. Are you of the opinion that Hawk Tua girl likely has a lot of vultures around her that took advantage of her and she's not as culpable as one may think? Yeah, of course. She's like a 21-year-old Midwesterner, random, not to throw my own people under the bus. But
basically, come on the show, please. You are the podcast's top priority for the first episode in 2025, guys. Me, the boogeyman, I was honored. To be honest, I was like, wow, I could be on the Talk Tua show. But, of course, I don't want to rehab someone's image who scammed people. And I really felt that questions had not been answered that should have been answered, such as, what was the agreement with Haliey Welch and with Doc Hollywood? Very simple question, right? Basically, Haliey Welch...
Wait, who the f*** is this? Should I know these people? Do I know these people? This guy should be exiled from MAGA. This is disgusting. Do I know any of these or either of these? Scott Pressler.
Welch's position is, I was a victim. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how much. I was barely going to make money. 125K plus like, you know, half of 10% of the tokens locked for a year. Like this terrible deal. I got taken advantage of by these monsters. Like that was kind of their position. And all I wanted to know was, you know, give me the contract. Show me that is true. And unfortunately,
the second you release a coin, every single comment is about how you're scamming. Maybe in the beginning she didn't know, but by the time of the rug pull, she clearly should have known. If you would have hold a gun to her head and ask her, I don't think she'd be able to explain anything about crypto. She has no idea. My guess is her agents around her probably said, hey, you can do a crypto coin. Everybody's into crypto now, right? And she's like, yeah. And it's like, you'll make a ton of money. Everybody will buy it. It'll be awesome. That's my guess is that's the extent of what they said. And she was like, okay, yeah, sure.
They were not able to give it.
Wait.
And
Wants to use her platform to help others learn. She's not launching any other projects and will help probably investors in any way she can. She's more aligned with you than anyone else, as odd as that may sound at this point. She wants to magnify scams and help others not make the same mistakes. Send me the agreement with Alex's company concerning Hawkcoin. Max Berwick has it. I understand you are acquainted with him. Who is Alex? Is that Hawk2 a girl? Is her name Alex something?
unfortunately, they were not able to give it.
If I recall, he won't or can't share it. I'm not in a position to share either. I'm sorry. I can't verify anything you say then. Even what you told me about the 50% split, no idea if that's real. Come tape the podcast and I will let you read it. What? Oh, Haliey is her name, true. So you do have it and you will show it, but you're trying to use it to... Good one. The argument is that she obviously doesn't understand how it works, but knew that she was scamming people. It's pretty hard not to know what rug pulls are, and crypto is used to scam. My guess is less than 10% of Americans could explain like what a rug pull is or how it even works, other than it's bad.
He's not in a position to share it, he says. I'm sorry. I said, can't verify anything you say then. Even what you told me about the 50% split, which I had heard Hawk2 Girl was going to make 50% of all the profits. And he kind of told me, no, that just applies to the tokens. So I was like, oh, well, maybe.
Can you explain what a rug pull is so I know for future reference? Well, rug pull, when you pull the rug, somebody falls down. So a rug pull is when a crypto goes bad. Like the rug got pulled.
She's less of a stakeholder in this than I thought. I don't know. I even pinned a comment on it, which we'll talk about. I said, no idea if that's real. He says, come tape the podcast and I'll let you read it. I thought this was really skeevy. I thought that's weird.
There's a bunch of different ways, and with crypto, you can be sophisticated with your scamming more and more. But basically, the idea is when you launch a crypto coin, somehow, and there's a lot of different mechanisms for this to happen now, somehow the people who launch the coin, like here, let's say this, okay? I have a coin called Destiny Coin, all right? And there's 1,000 Destiny coins, and I'm going to launch this to my fan base. But also I own 500 of the initial coins. So you only have access to buy and sell 500 coins yourself, except for the initial 500 that I have, okay? Let's say that I launch that coin. I say, guys, we're going to build cool things with this project. It's going to be awesome. And then you guys start buying and selling the coin. It launches and the coins bid up to, $2,000 each. It launches at $5 each or whatever. And then it gets up to $2,000 each. You're like, oh, this is what we're buying and selling this coin. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, look at the price of this coin. I'm going to start dumping my coins on the market. Well, two things happen. One, I make a ton of money because now I'm selling these coins that I was initially holding at these high values because of what they're currently trading for. And two, when people see all of those initial coins being sold off by the owner, they're like, oh, this guy's abandoning this project. This shit is fucked. Now we need to sell. And then it drives the price into the ground. So all of the suckers that bought it to drive up the price now get fucked because other people who are buying are helping the people cash out, and then you make a ton of money, and now you've got a coin that's worth nothing and everybody's just bag holding like an idiot. Right.
And not even like let me post it, but just read it. That's super weird. And in general, I find that in these situations, going on people's podcasts where I've reported on them.
What cool stuff can be done with such a project? There's a million, billion, trillion theoretical cool things you could do with NFTs or crypto. Just nobody's done it yet. I guess like Ethereum and stuff. There's a lot of interesting projects built about. Theoretically, the sky's the limit. You could theoretically do anything cool with any of these projects, but the reality is people just use them to scam their fans. Yeah.
Post it, but just read it. That's super weird. And in general, I find that in these situations, going on people's podcasts where I've reported on them, they are highly likely to do sketchy editing, to try to kind of control the situation so they look as good as possible, obviously. But I'm just not I don't think that ever makes sense. Like for me, reporting on a scam to then like go on their podcast. It doesn't work. So I say no. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, they bring FaZe Banks on because FaZe Banks is like the closest thing to doing what I did as well.
I know nothing about crypto, but once the rug puller sells, do they actually sell all their tokens for that peaked sales price? Or do some of the tokens get sold for the shitty post-crash price? Some get probably sold for shitty prices, but like you didn't spend basically anything to launch the coin, so it doesn't matter. As long as you cashed out some of them. There's something called, there used to be a really nice website for looking at this. Is there a good website that shows you an order book? Because I could explain, I think, like crashes or how these work, but I don't know if there are like nice sites that, the order book for any given traded thing, it should look something like, this. Oh my God, I can't draw for shit. me, dude. I don't even know why the I just wasted my time. Is this the book? I think this is, right? I believe, I don't know if there's a more sophisticated way that some people can do this or hide this, but when people are placing orders on markets, I think part of what the exchange does is orders are on the book, and you can see if you were to buy or sell something, like how that order would be fulfilled. So like right now you can see that at this price, I think this is this quantity. So like there's an order on the book right now to sell 96 point, no, there's an order on the books right now that where somebody's trying to sell 29 Bitcoins for 96.27K each. Is that what am I reading that correctly? Or here on this side of the order book, you can see how many people are trying to buy Bitcoins for a given price, right? If you were to sell right now, I suck at explaining this. Or maybe just this graph sucks. Like if somebody, let's say that Bitcoin is worth a certain amount and you're like, oh my God, Bitcoin is worth 100K. That means I could sell 1 million Bitcoins and make, I don't know what that number would be, $100 quadrillion or whatever, right? But that's not really true. If you were to sell like 1,000 Bitcoins, you would burn through the order book probably very quickly. And what would happen is you'd have to start, depending on how you've listed your order, if you have like a market order as opposed to like limits, it'll just fulfill whatever's on the books. You would burn through the books very quickly. And instead, the new buying and selling price would be much lower than when you first start selling. So in any rug pull, you can't sell every single coin at the very top. You can only sell it, and then the price will start to fall, sometimes very quickly, depending on how people are watching the market. But so you wouldn't fulfill every single one for the price at the top because you would eat through that order book really quickly. I don't know if that makes sense. That's the best I got for you.
On the live stream, he also confronted Doc Hollywood, and so he was sort of one of the people that broke the news. So I thought, okay, that's a pretty natural guy to bring on your podcast. Now, FaZe Banks reached out to me and said, hey, I'm probably going to do this podcast. Do you have any questions that you'd like to get answers to? I said, yes, I do. I'd really like to see that contract. Now, spoiler alert, FaZe Banks didn't get to see it either. They didn't get a show it.
What are crypto snipers? I don't know if a sniper needs to have insider information or not, but a sniper, I believe, would be anybody who's trying to get in early to like hop on with the rug puller. So let's say that I find out Hassan Coin is going live, and I know that Hassan Coin is going live, and I know that it's going to be a scam. As soon as Hassan Coin goes live, I'm going to hop onto Hassan Coin immediately, and I know that price is going to go up, and then I'm going to try to scam everybody else that's getting in along with the original scammers. But I don't believe that snipers are considered part of the original project. I'm sorry, did I say scammers or snipers? I don't think snipers are considered, I don't believe that snipers are considered part of the original project. I think snipers are other people that try to just jump onto a coin to kind of like, you can pump and dump any given asset or security or whatever. You can pump and dump things without necessarily being the original owner, you know? How do snipers even find out the coin is launching? Do they have insider info? They might, or they're just like scouring the internet, or they're scouring exchanges for newly listed stuff or whatever, or they could have insider information, but
he also told me, look, we're going to tell everyone.
But snipers face a lot of risk because they can't know if the coin is the real one or not when it gets created on chain. They snipe a bunch of fake ones too. Yeah, and they could also end up getting pumped and dumped themselves without realizing it. Like a sniper could try to snipe, but somebody else snipes early, and then they start dumping, and then the sniper's like, fucked, yeah.
Do not talk about the show. It doesn't work if you talk.
Can this happen with stocks? No, because it's illegal. If somebody catches you trying to do like a pump and dump, there's a whole bunch of stuff with trading securities that the SEC will regulate, and you'll get fucked on if you do it. Crypto's the Wild West, though. So.
Either. They didn't get a show it. But he also told me, look, we're going to tell everyone. Do not talk about this.
Sorry, hold on. But wouldn't they be competing with the exchange for speed? If they actually dump the moment it goes live, then they only have a very small window to profit before it crashes. You don't dump the moment it goes live. You wait, you go live with a coin, you wait for it to go up, and then you dump. You don't dump as soon as it goes live, then you're not going to make any money. Nobody would, yeah.
But he also told me, look, we're going to tell everyone. Do not talk about the show. It doesn't work if you talk about it because people are going to front run the coin. That's sort of how you guys got into this mess. This would be a
front running the coin. I don't know if he's using the term incorrectly, but front running is basically sniping is what he's saying.
Talk about it because people are going to front run the coin. That's sort of how you guys got into this mess. This would be a disaster if you do that. So our only stipulation, these guys are very positive about crypto, much more like they kind of wanted to like rehab her image basically in the crypto space. So it's like a dream get for Haliey Welch. Like this is amazing for her. And because FaZe Banks is basically going to like make it be like, oh, well, you didn't really mean to do that, right? But, you know, he's going to ask some questions, whatever.
Why do people view crypto traders as fundamentally different than stock traders? Like we view them as idiots who deserve it versus people who trade stocks and are deserving of protection. Well, there's a combination of a lot of different actors, but the biggest push is coming from the people that make the most money in crypto. They don't want any of it regulated because they want to be able to scam or do crazy shit without any government oversight, or they don't want to pay taxes on it or whatever. So the biggest push is just from heavily financially invested people who just want to have like more money.
Well, turns out that didn't go so well.
Front running is buying in before it goes public. That might be how it's used in crypto, or I could be wrong too. I thought that for conventional securities markets, I thought that front running refers to you knowing that an order is going to be placed and then you placing an order ahead of that order to basically make money off of the difference in an illegal manner. So for instance, let's say that you ask me, hey, can you, my broker, I want you to buy 5 stocks of Destiny for $100 each. And I go, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then I call my friend and I'm like, hey, I need you to buy and relist. There's 5 shares of Destiny right now that are going for $96. I need you to buy all 5 of them and then relist them for $99 or whatever. And then he does that. And then I execute my client's order. That would be front running because I've used a client has given me information about how he wants to buy or sell. And I've gotten ahead of that order and I've bought and sold ahead of him in order to make money off the difference, basically. But front running is illegal definitionally. Buying and selling things or closing spreads or whatever like that isn't necessarily illegal. It's only illegal if you have information about, I believe, somebody else placing an order, if that makes sense.
Questions, whatever. Well, turns out that didn't go so well because when this podcast went live, I thought maybe things went well. Turns out it didn't because Banks released this. He said, I agreed to do our first podcast back. I had heavy stipulations of not letting the market get manipulated. I think that's basic. Her team finding a real solution regarding the money she made. Those were non-starters. These people leaked or insider traded the token. We noticed a random spike in volume on the coin the day we did the podcast, along with random messages asking if we did the podcast. So are you guys getting this? Somebody front ran the podcast to buy up all the coins because they knew, ooh, everyone's going to like it when they release this podcast. Let's front run the coin, which is just horrible. It's like, what, do you want to re-victimize people? So they call on.
Front running is a thing that now gets done by high frequency trading bots. You read an order on the Chicago exchange, and then with your faster internet connection, you place an order in the New York City exchange for the same coin to drive up the price. You then instantly sell it and made a fraction of a cent on it. That sounds like arbitrage. Arbitrage is not front running. Front running, very definite. Well, I want to be careful because I'm not the best stock person, and I also don't know if these words are used differently in crypto. But my understanding is front running very explicitly refers to an illegal activity where you're using what should be privileged or private information. Arbitrage is where you see something listed on one platform versus another, and you can buy and sell to basically even out the price, less fees and tax or whatever else. Arbitrage is not illegal. Trying to buy and sell quickly for arbitrage is not illegal. Front running doesn't imply that you're using information that's publicly listed on some exchange or market somewhere, is what I understand.
Off the pod. They're like, look, even the people most charitable towards Hawk Tua say, we're out. We're done. But today, the episode got leaked. Apparently, there was an agreement. The podcast is never going out, but today it got leaked. I say that because some of the accompanying clips that got clipped seem to be good for Haliey Welch. Like where she cries, about the rug pull. And people were saying maybe they kind of felt bad for her, right? From this leaked show.
Like if you know a person with a significant influence will sell soon, so you sell before them. I believe if it's private information, that would be illegal, yeah. I think generally speaking, if there are huge holders in like publicly traded companies, I don't think they're allowed to even sell without first making a filing. First, you have to make a filing to your company, and then I believe it's an announced publicly before they even sell their thing. Like I don't believe Bezos or Zuckerberg or Elon Musk can just go and like instantly dump like 20% of their holdings without. I think they have to inform the shareholders first. I think. Metalloid says you can sell and then file after. Okay, I could be wrong on that then.
Here's Dexerto saying Haliey Welch broke down in tears while talking about the alleged rug pull of her.
I want to start by saying thank you to all my true fans and all the people that actually watch my stuff and they keep up with me. We're trying to sort out all the pieces and stuff to like get all this figured out and make everything right. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
No, don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Everything's gonna be good. We're gonna be good.
No, you're not. Phase bang.
Well, yes, she is. I don't know if any of this is even illegal. I doubt Trump's admin is going to make it illegal. This is more just a PR thing for can she recover publicly or not to continue the podcast versus like being done publicly. But I don't think anything legal is going to come of this now. My guess is they're probably just trying to settle financially publicly enough to recover enough goodwill while still keeping a sizable profit for themselves so that everybody kind of quote unquote wins, I guess. That'd be my guess. But
FaZe Banks canceled the episode. Are you guys getting that? He was like, I can't be a part of this. And they posted the clip. I can't believe it. That's unbelievable. Do y'all understand how insane that is?
How this idea got brought to me, it was supposed to be like a, what do they call it, a long-term coin. And the guy that ran the account, he was like, oh, we're going to change like the way everybody thinks of crypto. Crypto is going to be a good place. And I feel really bad for all the people that got affected by it. And it just didn't go the way I planned.
That's right, guys. Haliey Welch is very sorry. She wants you to know she did not intend it to go that way. And that podcast clip, yes, it wasn't supposed to go out, but it just leaked. We don't know how. I approached, of course, the guys behind it, and they said it was an editor mistake. Oh, oops. Yes, the guys who interviewed us thought we may have insider traded the coin, but this guy says he vouches for the internal team, saying it was none of them. And Better, which is Jake Paul's team, I guess.
oh, wait a second. So that episode isn't even live. They just leaked the clip on Twitter, and then they confirmed on the blockchain that they sold coins afterwards. Because if so, that's pretty that's pretty sneaky.
No way they would ever do something like that, guys. Believe us, we will likely never know the info leak. The clip posting leak today was an accidental by Better's editor who had the episode in the YouTube queue waiting on approvals to release. Now, I don't know if this is true or false. I thought the weird thing about this video is that, like, everyone has had, anyone in media who's, like, had a sensitive episode recorded, you don't, like, do all the work if you think it might get canned. Like, obviously, right? These people not only edited the show, they put an ad in the leaked version of the episode, okay? So I'm not saying it didn't leak. I'm saying it's highly convenient.
This started. Game Time believes in me, y'all, and I believe
Fuck, that's such a hard one to assume. Like, he's kind of right, but people are also mega retarded sometimes. So I'm like 50-50 on what he's saying. Like, yeah, but
in them.
Game Time's more loyal than most of y'all's mans out here.
Yeah, some of those guys just leave it the first opportunity they get. Not Game Time.
Not Game Time, guys. Game Time wouldn't leak an episode on you. So that's just the start of the
But I feel like everything around this episode and everything around Hawk 2 and her coming back, this has all got to be so highly sensitive. Like, everybody that's involved in this, unless they literally have random Indian editors that have no idea what's, or like people from Indonesia, like, I don't know, I just edit the shit. I don't know anything's going on. Like, I feel like if that leaked, it feels like it was probably intentional. Like, I would lean more on the side of it being intentional, yeah.
this atrocious episode. But now that it's out, I did take a look at it, and it made me think twice about something that I've been trying to get to the bottom of for a while, which is that contract. The contract I keep asking about. Who was supposed to make the money, right? That's always the question in a case like this. That's what the boogeyman wants to know. I got to know who to scare. I got to go know whose bed to get under to scare them at night. And I've been repeatedly asking this, and as I've said, basically their position is that she was just the small fry. She was the dupe. She was the person who got tricked into promoting this thing, right? This scam. But
why is the Hawk 2 coin illegal but not Trump's? Because Trump's fans like being scammed by Trump, whereas Hawk 2's fans probably don't want to be scammed by Hawk 2.
there was a certain thing she said that confused me, because I've heard two things. I've heard Haliey Welch is getting half of everything, which is she's not the mark. She's like one of the main players. Or two, she's basically getting 125K and nothing else. Well, I heard this during the show, and it made me think, interesting.
Like half the money, it was supposed to go like into my charity. That's really why I agreed to do it.
Did you hear that?
Oh, no. That makes it sound like she was getting half the money, right?
Like half the money.
Half the money. Now, that's very interesting. That's very different from what we've been told, which is like, oh, it's just 125K. I don't know if the part about the charity is true. that it was all supposed to go to charity. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Again, that's why I keep asking about the contract. Now, I went to their lawyer and I was like, look, I don't understand the secrecy with the contract. You could settle this so easily.
Contract isn't going to matter even at all here, because even if it happens going to her quote-unquote charity, would you even specify that in the contract? You'd probably just pay it out to her directly, and that would be like a promise with her fans to give it to her charity or some bullshit, right?
The guy says, I'm on a phone call. Then he says something he's been saying the
Give me 1 second, I'll answer you on a phone call. Okay.
whole time. As I've said, the 50% of net proceeds, that's apparently what she's talking about, half the money, was from the mutually agreed upon allocation of tokens. 10% locked for 1 year with a 3-year vest thereafter. Memetic, which is Doc Hollywood, was to get the other 50% of the 10%.
What does a 3-year vest mean with a 10% lock-in? 10% locked for 1 year. Does that mean that from years 2 to 4, she can sell a little bit each year, basically, and she has 10% of the original stock? Is that what that means?
So not 50%, only like 5%, 1 year locked up. That's a terrible deal if you guys don't know that. And then he says her intention was to give her side to charity. We never got far enough down the road to make those questions. With regard to not sharing the contract, we can't, blah, 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 blah. Road to make those.
With regard to not sharing the contract, we, Haliey's internal team, are actively cooperating with the other third parties that have interest in this matter, and we have been advised against sharing it. If and when we can share, I will send to you.
To not sharing the contract, we can't.
With regards to the proceeds of the token, we are in active talks with legal counsel for Memetic concerning a settlement and separation.
Blah, 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 blah.
Several claims against Memetic that we may be forced to litigate if a resolution is not reached. Haliey does not have access to any token proceeds at this point in time. We don't know the identity of the actual dev who controls the wallet. We don't have any copies of any of the SAFs. Let me know. I don't know who all the players involved in this even are, so.
We're in a legal situation. Now, this is where I finally had to play.
At Destiny, again, rug pulls are not illegal. The token, if it is a security and they didn't file with the SEC, might be illegal. The only case a rug pull is illegal is when it was designed by the creator to defraud funds. Well, like even like pumping and dumping in the markets is illegal, no? Outside of crypto, like for ordinary securities, no? Like can't the SEC get you for pumping and dumping? Like if you and other people collude to pump up a security and then knowingly sell it later on, seeing other people getting duped?
Some of the cards that I had kept close to the chest up till now. See, I've been talking behind the scenes. I've been doing my little digging, right? And I got a very interesting insider document that a lot of people don't know about. This is from Doc Hollywood himself, which if you remember is like the key guy. Here he is saying, we'll do best to make it as simple as possible. The pre-sale raise is 50-50 Project Haliey. Fees for market making and LP is split between us and Haliey 50-50. Now that's a very, very different story than I've been told.
Well, couldn't this guy just be kind of retarded and he just means that 50-50 of that 10%? Or I don't know.
Up until this point, it wasn't 50-50 pre-sale. Like, that's millions of dollars pre-sale. The fees were millions of dollars, okay? Or like $1 million. And that's what I say. Story's very different. This guy says, I think you can safely distrust anything coming from Doc Hollywood's mouth. He's denying it. He's saying, that's not true. And then he says, look, I just can't have...
Can I have it published online, willing to have let you see it with your own eyes so that you can see we are being truthful?
The contract published online, willing to let you see it with your own eyes, and saying that's why he was going to let me see it on the podcast. I said, well, these messages were prior to the failure of Hawk to a coin. So I don't understand why would Doc lie? Like, this isn't him saying it to cover himself later. It's him, like, talking in a chat with other insiders back then. So, once again, Christian denies it. He goes, he's not bright. I said, I don't understand your position. You want me to not trust internal messages from before the launch and trust you who refuses to produce evidence. This guy says, look, I can tell you what I think, but I don't have any way of proving. I then say, you said on the podcast you negotiated the contract personally.
I negotiated the contract with the company.
I don't get why Haliey would benefit from such a bad contract if what you said is true. And this is really how I feel. Half of 10% of tokens plus 125K makes 0 sense for someone who's bringing in all of the name recognition. Like, you're bringing the whole thing and you're getting this like measly piece of the pie.
Why is FaZe Banks everywhere a crypto scam is to be found? I don't even know. What does he do these days? Is it all like crypto related or?
It doesn't make sense for someone who's bringing in all of the name recognition. Like, you're bringing the whole thing and you're getting this like measly piece of the pie. It doesn't check out. Like 125K is a lot of money, but they made like $4 million. So then he says this, the contract says she was paid 125K on signing, 200K within 30 days of launch. Interesting. We didn't know that. And 50% of the net proceeds of the project with mutually agreed upon tokenomics, the tokenomics we agreed to.
God, I hate the term tokenomics. Kill me.
Were for half of the 10% of the tokens. Now, I want you guys to realize that what he just said is backtracking on what he's been saying the entire time, which he's been saying the entire time, oh, it's just 50% of the 10%, 50% of the tiny amount of tokenomics we're going to need. No, what he's saying here, finally, he's giving us the real story. It's 50% of the net proceeds of the project, period. That is completely different from what they've told me. And so I say 50% of the net proceeds does not mean half of 10%. It means 50% of net proceeds, which is market making, pre-sale. This is like $4 million that they talked about.
Why do people dick ride for crypto so much? Honest to God, bro, I can't tell you. Rich people do it because they can scam the f out of retards with it. I think some retards like it because it's like an abolish the Fed alternative currency movement. And then other people, I truly don't know. I thought this would have died off like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago with all the scams and everything. But like, I feel like over COVID, all the crypto scams like peaked. And then I thought it would have been done by then. I can't believe people are still making so much money on crypto scams.
And I don't know if he's just trying to play dumb here, but he goes, we were told by Memetic that MM fees and pre-sale funds were going to be used to run the project. Guys, it was $4 million. You think it takes $4 million to run a meme coin? Or like 3.9 million? Sorry, it's like 3.9, I think. How are you getting that 50% only applies to 10% of the tokens? I'm baffled. You think they need $3 million to run a meme coin? 3 plus, 3.9 roughly. The dev team, by their own admission, said they had 4 guys. 4 guys do not need to split $4 million 4 ways, right? And so then they just kind of start doing this.
The reason why crypto scams are still a thing is that not enough people being arrested and charged with scamming. That's probably true too. Like even I could probably say I'm going to scam you guys and then launch like a meme coin as a scam. And it feels like I could probably still make over 100K off it. Just like even announcing it's a scam in advance.
This weird dance. And it got me like realizing like, yeah, they're just trying to get out of it. Like if you think for a second, they would have said, oh, we only want the 10% if this project succeeded. You're mistaken. They would have asked for the millions of dollars. Now they're saying it because that money's getting them in trouble, right? There's a lawsuit about that money. So they're saying, oh, we weren't entitled to that. No, that's not us. Christian Baker said, we didn't even know the amount of money raised from the pre-sale until launch. I say, yes, but you're entitled to that per the literal contract. Also, we were told Meteora was on a de-escalation schedule from 15% down to 1%, and that would happen one after launch. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Like, maybe I'm just retarded and I just don't understand the ways of the crypto, but all of this just seems like a way to scam. Like, why does this have to be so complicated? Why are there like 15 different movers and market makers and pre-vested? Like, what the f is the point of all this? Like, it was just a meme coin, wasn't it? Like, what the f was even built into this project? Like, anytime somebody points out some shit and it's some incredibly obfuscated, insanely complicated scheme of different players, I'm like, why? What the f is even happening here? Like, this sounds like a complicated C Corp, like, organized structure entity for some insanely complicated, like, why? It just feels like a scam. This all sounds like a giant scam to me, just for different people to get paid off it.
Happened. And he said, my understanding is that a large tranche of the pre-sale money was put in the LP. We didn't have the access to the dev. We don't know what wallets. We were also told pre-sale tokens would be on a 1-month lock, 1-year vest. That didn't happen either. And once again, this is where I have to play some of my cards. Because like I said, I've been investigating this. I'm being told, oh, we weren't going to make any money. And I'm just trying to say, like, you guys aren't the victims. I hope you guys are understanding that this is kind of my feeling in all this. They're trying to be like, oh, we barely made a dime. And that's just not true. Like, that's not what they stood to make. I said, what do you mean? You told me I could disregard what Doc said. Remember, he said, oh, you can disregard it. But y'all literally had a contract for 50% of net proceeds. Doc himself said the project...
Isn't this lawyer opening them up to serious further litigation with all these responses? Well, in terms of like the actual terms of the contract, I'm sure that like most of these are probably understood by all the parties themselves. So it's possible that it doesn't matter at this point because terms of the contract are already going to be understood by all the different parties involved. So
was going to cost a few $100 grand. If that's the case, pre-sale $2.8 million, fees $1 million, made almost $4 million. Y'all are contractually owed like 1.6 million.
Do you think there are lots of people being scammed 2 times? You know, actually, another party that I didn't really consider for all the crypto stuff is there might be a lot of people who are just hoping to get big and rich off of a crypto coin. So they bullshit themselves into thinking it's like, this one's going to be the one that goes big.
And then I shared another insider text I have from Doc Hollywood, where he says, what we can do is put a hard number to the side for the project as cost. Like we spent a few $100,000 on the project already. That money will be paid back to us off top. Then the profit is paid out. If a few $100,000 is what it costs and the profit's paid out, who's the profit entitled to? Hawk to a girl. That's who it is. And we're all being gaslit about like, oh, I'm the victim. I stood to make no money. Wrong. You wanted to make no money after you realized the money is like being scrutinized and being sued over and possibly being looked into by law enforcement. Like, we don't know. So this literally drives me crazy. And then he goes, where is this from, if you don't mind me asking? I say, well, it's an insider chat, allegedly between Doc and the team members. And then he says, you're right that as it stands, she may be entitled to whatever amounts. However, she was supposed to have mutual approval on tokenomics, her not being given the opportunity to approve the transaction fee, SAFs.
Although I will say that this guy is saying a lot that probably shouldn't be said public. But I don't know, maybe all the private parties are already aware of all this, but like it is possible that he's f***ing himself by releasing so much information here to him too, yeah.
Pre-sale identities led to the end result. So literally he's admitting that he's been not telling the truth about how much money they stood to make. You're right, she may be entitled to millions of dollars from a scam? Like what? I can't believe they said this. It's insane. So that was a huge revelation.
Why do these people have contact with Voidzilla? You mean with CoffeeZilla? Probably because they're trying to get him to think more positively of them. I have no idea.
We finally got that out of them. They've been saying this whole time. They even said it during the pod. This guy kind of did this whole thing of like the back end. Oh, the back end, it's only like 50% of 10% locked up for a year. And when the managers take their cut, it's like this tiny amount of money.
Back end, there was a 10% allocation of the token that would be on a 1-year lock and then a 3-year drip after that. Of that 10%, half of that was supposed to go to...
Like, how long was this podcast episode? So the full thing did get released. Does any of Hawk to his audience give a f about it? Even these guys look like they're about to fall asleep. 10% of the vested, 1% is going, and then there's going to be a drip period after with the full investment.
The company that created the project, and half was to go to her. So out of 100% of the token, she would have had 5% at the end. Obviously, she has lawyer, manager, business manager, so even that 5% would have been cut down by over a quarter.
I just found this unbelievable. They're playing the victim. And that's kind of my problem with this whole thing. Look, I can believe a lot of plausible stories here. Now, I really don't believe anything they tell me at this point, but I could be convinced that this might be the case. Maybe it's the case that Hawk to his team was under the impression that all these pre-sale investors were locked up for a month, right? That's what they told me. Again, I don't believe them necessarily, but it's plausible. Right? I asked him, when did you learn that the insiders had 0 lockups? He says, when they started dumping. I was told all along the SAFs had a 1-month lock, 1-year linear vest thereafter. I can tell you what I think happened, but I don't have...
Like, if people had locks, and like I said, I could be wrong, but like, wouldn't all this be built into the technology? Like, wouldn't you be able to have a dev just look at it and go, oh yeah, look, there's a lockup. You can see that it's not like they can't sell. Like, it's like when you talk about like vestment periods and locks on crypto, that's not stuff that people just agree to do in a kind manner. Isn't that like part of the technology of it? Or am I...
have any way of proving it without seeing the SAFs? I have the SAFs, so I can't tell you what happened.
Contract? Yeah, okay.
The pitch deck did say it was a 1-month lockup. Okay? And then you get the SAFs, the actual token agreements with like the real investors.
Right, sorry.
And then...
Hawkonomics, bro, kill.
You get the SAFs, the actual token agreements with like the real investors. No lockup. That's how it all kind of went down, fellas. They lied and they deceived people with fake investment lockups. Like they gave a pitch deck that was not really what the pitch deck ultimately turned out to be. Whether that was a last minute change, whether there's some great...
What the fuck is tokenomics? I think tokenomics is just like everything that I just mentioned. It's how the coin is supposed to be vested and sold and who owns what. And it's like part of the code of the coin, I think.
way to explain it. I don't think there is. But look, you can believe that, right? But Haliey Welch's team this whole time has been acting like so unbelievably dishonest in how they're framing all this to try to make her look like as sympathetic as possible instead of admitting, like, actually, we did have some complicity in this. Maybe we should have asked more questions. We did stand to make way more money than we've let on in a lot of these interviews and with journalists. And
Why do they need devs at all for this? Well, supposedly it's to make a cool project that people are buying into. In reality, it just sounds like because they need people to make more complicated and sophisticated ways to scam everybody involved, I guess.
we haven't been exactly forthcoming about that. So it makes it hard to be charitable, which kind of they're wanting you to be if we can't see these contracts, if we don't know what they knew, right, at the time when all this stuff happened. And it clearly was a scam because the pitch deck said one thing. They said it was a lockup. The SAFs said it wasn't a lockup. But it's hard to be charitable, right, when this is kind of the way they're interfacing, even with the FaZe Banks crew, who wanted to be charitable to her pretty explicitly. Like, they were like, look, even when they talked about me, they're like, hey, it's not going to be that bad. We're not going to be like CoffeeZilla.
Yeah, scary guy. Let me tell you, don't ever want to have a conversation with him.
We're a little bit more charitable than Coffee. I think Coffee kind of has a little bit of disdain for crypto in general. Us, on the other hand, we live and breathe it every day. We want to see crypto succeed.
Even those guys. Who would...
Is FaZe Banks, do we like him or is he a scummy Because I don't know why he would be defending this. I don't know. Everything I've seen about this just makes it, unless I'm missing something, it feels like there's a whole bunch of analysis from some people that, for some reason, but like, if you just pull back and look at it, it just seems like it was a scam. The whole thing was just a scam. That's what it just seems like obviously. Like, what was the product at the end of the day with Hawk Tua coin? What were they even going to do with it?
Admit that they have like a bias towards being charitable, right? Maybe I have a bias for being scary. But even they don't want anything to do with her team because her team is leaking stuff, messing up, like all this stuff with supposed insider trading. Again, their team denies. I got to be clear about that. But clearly somebody was trading on the information, which they shouldn't have, and then leaking the episode as an accident. So yeah, I just wanted to cover this story, just explain how bad faith they've sort of been throughout this, some of the revelations we've learned since then, and also admit there's plenty we don't know that I hope will be revealed in this lawsuit, which is happening about this coin, fighting for this money, that clearly Haliey Welch's team is like, oh, we don't want that anymore. We just want to, we want to say we're not entitled to any of that. And so I do hope...
The real question is, who was in on the scam part of it, though, no? Yeah, but we'll never know that publicly, right? Because I imagine they have every incentive to fight about this privately and legally. And we might never even know that at all. Like, I don't think any complaints have even been filed on this, have they? Like, I don't, that's a question that we might never know the answer to. If anything, that'd be my bet, is that we'll never know the answer to that.
In that lawsuit, things actually come out and victims get their money back. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this story. Now that the Hawk truth is floating around on the interwebs, I wanted people to get a more clear, holistic picture of what actually happened, both on the screen and behind the scenes. Okay, see ya.
Wow, thanks. Give me a sec, I need to get something to drink. And then we'll watch this. Get radicalized in the meantime. 1 sec.
Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Do you like the Hawk Tua girl? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Do you like spit on your thing? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Have you ever watched the Talk Tua podcast? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
What's it like to get slop from someone you love? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Do they teach you how to give Hawk without the Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Have you ever given Hawk Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Do you dream about being on Talk Tua?
Talk Tua.
What's it like to have never met the Hawk Tua girl? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Did you vote for Hawk Tua girl as president? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Why don't you say that 3 times? Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua. Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua. Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Congratulations, Constant K. You have passed the post-tuamatic baseline test. You can pick up your bonus on your way out, but you have to say the magic word.
Hawk Tua.
Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Do you like the Hawk Tua girl? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Do you like spit on your thing? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Have you ever watched the Talk Tua podcast? Hawk Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
What's it like to get slop from someone you love? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Do they teach you how to give Hawk without the Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Have you ever given Hawk Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Do you dream about being on Talk Tua?
Talk Tua.
What's it like to have never met the Hawk Tua girl? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Did you vote for Hawk Tua girl as president? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Why don't you say that 3 times? Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua. Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua. Within Hawk Tua. Talk Tua.
Congratulations, Constant K. You have passed the post-tuamatic baseline test. You can pick up your bonus on your way out, but you have to say the magic word.
Hawk Tua.
Tua.
Hawk Tua.
Do you like the Hawk Tua girl? Hawk Tua.
Hop Tua.
Do you like spit on your thing? Hop Tua.
Hop Tua.
Have you ever watched the Talk Tua podcast? Hop Tua.
Hop Tua.
Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
What's it like to get slop from someone you love? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Do they teach you how to give hop without the Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.
Have you ever given hop Tua? Talk Tua.
Talk Tua.